5 instructors in a borrowed building. It's not how most people would plan a successful institution of higher education, but it was all they had.
It was exciting. First of all, we wondered if there were going to be any students who come.
At that time, we would have taken, I guess, anybody that was warm.
Then students began to show up the following week, and registration took place, and we ended up with 65 hardy souls, and I had 64 of them in classes. One person escaped.
I was in the first class at NMC in the fall of 1951, and we started out in the old terminal building at the airport.
We all had to work to make that so we could use it. For example, scraping the black paint off the windows that they'd had to use during the war.
There's very little heat in the building, but downstairs in the lobby they had coffee all the time, and so we'd go down there and warm up in the wintertime.
And it was interesting out there. I mean, here you are in an old World War II building with the snow blowing through the windows.
The people that come 50 years later really don't thoroughly understand what made this institution. Grassroots, nickel and dimes.
You know, you can learn to stick together when you get in a place like that.
Miss Baver, during exam week, called the Coast Guard and told them to quit hovering outside the buildings until after the tests were over, and they did.
But the really important mood was the students, and they were from the very beginning a group of dynamic people.
We were taking a chance, and I'm sure so were the people that were running the college. We didn't know if it was going to last more than a year. How did you know in those days?
End of the second year, everybody got a $100 raise, and I think everybody donated the $100 back to the college again.
It was a humble beginning for sure, but it didn't take long for this new idea to catch on. By 1955, it was time for the college to move to its own campus, and with the help of the student body, the job went smoothly.
They brought their own trucks. We didn't hire any vehicles. They brought their own trucks, and we moved the entire college in one day.
This can-do attitude continued as various stages of development began on the new campus.
Les Biederman had found a Quonset hut that the Coast Guard had that they were going to give to the college, and we could use it as our union if we could move it off their site within 24 hours.
The administration building was under construction my first year here. It wasn't finished yet, and I can still remember having a class in the big basement room with plastic over the windows flapping in the breeze and a little bunch of tablet armchairs and a portable blackboard in the middle of the space.
We had this great faculty lounge. It was under a basement, a subterranean. If an atomic bomb had hit, we'd all survive. I mean, I don't to this day know where we were. I just kept walking through tunnels and underground, and finally I found this coffee, and I'd see another instructor walking through, and we'd all sit around and talk about education.
Actually, I think NMC changes every year. I've seen it grow with the community.
It's been very difficult to keep up with the changes at NMC, and that is real.
One of the things administrators hate is dirt. So what we did was march into the administrator's office, marvelous Preston Tanis, and walk across the floor with our muddy feet and our students behind us. And they said, you know, we have to get these people out of here.
Early governance of the college, we had general faculty meetings and discussed what ought to be done about internal policies and things like that, and that's where things were decided.
At that time, all the administrators taught classes, and
so it was really a very congenial, small bunch of people who kind of felt they were pioneers.
During a millage, we'd team up the students and go out in pairs and speak to the different townships. And
it was really a truly community effort and a great source of pride.
People supported the college right from the beginning, strongly, both rural and urban types.
Well, I think they were a bit skeptical, but they were very cooperative.
Oh, we were the darlings of the community.
We wanted a good community college.
It was a constant striving to make this college the best it could be.
But even in those early years, it wasn't all just work. There was plenty of time to play.
Student life was was an exploratory thing. We were a little on the wild side.
Of course, we were on a very limited budget, so we couldn't do very much entertaining.
We had everybody here, including the faculty and staff, that would turn out for dances and really had a good time.
So I can well remember we used to have hay rides and sleigh rides, and we always invited the faculty and they came.
It was like a big family, almost like being in a country school again.
So my students became my friends too, I guess you might say. Although in the classroom I was characterized as being an old goat by the time I retired, because I insisted on such things as written examinations and term papers and so on.
There's no monkeying around. I think I'd have a tough time getting out of this place.
Well, at commencement, I remember that it used to be the traditional option for the faculty to shove a student out of line if they felt they didn't belong in that commencement procession.
I am thrilled when my students walk through.
They may have been faculty when I got there, but by the time I left, we were all friends.
And I was so fond of the students and the faculty that I never thought of leaving.
This is more than a job. It really is a calling.
The relationship from student to faculty is exceptional.
I never got the sense that they were doing it because they had to. It was more because they wanted to.
We're driven and we run to embrace the challenge of how to take obstacles out of the way of people who come through our doors.
We are teaching by example, that we're committed to our particular profession. What do I do for a living? I'm a chemist who happens to teach.
We all believed in what we were doing. It wasn't just, here's another course, 8402.
I have a vested interest in this place.
Norm and I and Jack used to stand there and say, "You mean we get paid for this?"
University Center is a very natural extension of the importance of the community college in this community. It is about opportunities, it's about access.
They're just voluminous opportunities for all of us.
I consider NMC to be probably the best choice anybody can make.
The best choice? Yeah, definitely the best choice.
Hell, if they can make something out of me, they can make something out of anybody.
Peterman was chairman of the board, and he was going to have an aircraft carrier come in here and put kids on the boat and go worldwide.
And while students floated the seas from country to country, they were going to earn their degrees.
That got downgraded to the Allegheny, which was the ship that was brought in to be the flagship of our Maritime Academy. Well, we had two experiences with the Allegheny. One, it sunk, and we had to retrieve it. That was bad enough. But then it got covered with ice in a storm and tipped over, and some clown came along and wrote this side up on the bottom of it.
But the Maritime Academy itself was unsinkable. In fact, it has gone on to become one of NMC's flagship programs, with graduates in high demand throughout the Great Lakes and beyond. An equally successful NMC event has been the annual barbecue.
As I recall, even the restaurants closed. Just said, go to the barbecue.
It's not so much the money, it's the people involved, and it gets a whole community behind it.
Volunteering for different things around town, you quite often volunteer and you go, oh my God, I wish I hadn't. But this is one organization you can be involved in, you feel proud about.
It's their college, and I think the barbecue, and so many people working on that barbecue, has made that so.
NMC is a part of the Grand Traverse area, so that it's almost impossible to describe it in a way that doesn't connect.
There's a real strong sense of ownership and spirit in the community.
Well, we are a community college, and community is the major word.
NMC affects every aspect of this community, from economic development to the arts to the quality of the workforce.
I don't know that you could ask for much more out of a community college than what NMC does.
If you don't have some connection with NMC, I don't even know if you're breathing.
I have
had the occasion to hear from people who were here when it started in 1951, and when they tell me about the beginnings, they glow.
The museum is a perfect example of the college coming together with the community to help the community create something that it might not have been able to do on its own.
Economically, educationally, culturally, NMC has offered it, and the community has accepted it, and together they'll move forward in this new century.
I love this place.